Let's talk about cravings for a minute. That sudden, intense urge that can pop up out of nowhere. What if we looked at it not as a matter of willpower, but, through the calm lens of biology?
You know that feeling, right? Whether it's after that third cup of coffee, or scrolling on your phone for way too long, or even just a piece of chocolate. There's that little moment of pleasure, but then it's followed by this dip, a low, an irritation that just feels off. And sometimes that crash feels so much deeper than the high ever felt good.
So this whole cycle, the high and then the crash, turns out it's a totally universal human experience. It's not some kind of personal failing. It's actually a deeply rooted biological process. So let's take a closer look at what's really happening inside our brains in those moments.
Okay, so at the very heart of this is your brain. And it's constantly working behind the scenes. Its number one job? Keeping everything stable, keeping things on an even keel. It's this incredible, non-stop balancing act, always trying to maintain a state of internal equilibrium. And this drive for stability, there's a word for it: homeostasis. Just think of it as your brain's default setting, its happy place. It's a state of balance. Your brain, well, it really doesn't like being pushed too far in any one direction, up or down, for too long.
So how does the brain actually maintain this balance? Well, it uses this fascinating mechanism that scientists call the opponent process theory. The idea is pretty simple. For every action, there's an opposite reaction. When you feel a high, your brain immediately starts working to create an opposite low just to bring you back to your baseline. It's like a neurological seesaw.
And this visual really shows it perfectly. A pleasurable experience, that's the high, and it pushes one side of the seesaw up. That creates a temporary imbalance, and your brain, wanting to get back to its level, balanced state, immediately starts pushing the other side down. And that counterpush, well, that's the beginning of the crash.
But this balancing act isn't static. It's a dynamic process. So what happens when we repeat that same behavior over and over again? What happens when we keep pushing one side of that neurological seesaw up day after day? Eventually, it's going to get out of sync.
Here's the wild part. With repetition, your brain doesn't get weaker. It actually gets smarter. It learns to anticipate the high. It gets way more efficient at that counterpush, deploying its lowering mechanisms faster and more forcefully each time. This is what's called a sensitized response. And the result? The original high starts to feel less potent, and the crash that follows feels much, much deeper.
And this is such a crucial point. Our tolerance to something isn't about getting used to the good feelings. It's actually about our brain becoming hypersensitive and over-prepared for the negative, counterbalancing feelings. So the brain gets better at producing the lows, not worse at feeling the high.
And this is where the whole story we tell ourselves about our urges can start to change. Once you understand this sensitized crash, you get to this crucial insight. The real motivation behind a craving isn't about chasing pleasure. It's about finding relief.
We tend to think a craving is a sign of weakness, that it's all about wanting to feel that initial pleasure again. But from a biological point of view, that's not the main driver at all. That powerful urge, that craving, is actually the brain's desperate attempt to escape the discomfort of the low, that deep, sensitized crash it's gotten so good at creating. It becomes a search for relief, not for pleasure. So over time, the motivation is no longer about getting high, it's about getting back to zero. The real goal becomes simply to escape that negative state and just feel normal again. The craving is just a signal that your seesaw is tilted way, way down, and your brain is just trying to get it level.
So, understanding all this, it doesn't magically make the urges disappear, but it can fundamentally change our relationship with them. It really offers us a chance to approach these feelings not with judgment, but with a little bit of curiosity.
So maybe the next time an urge comes up, we can just meet it with this quiet thought. What if this isn't a moral failure? What if it's just a biological signal? The simple, predictable, and totally understandable action of a brain that it's just trying to find its way back home, back to balance.